your mind's eye, that night on June 7th, did he look like someone had just blown his son's head off, spatter going everywhere?
Again, I can't say that for sure. A lot of things would come into play to affect that.
Jurors in the double murder trial of Alex Murdaugh hearing from a detective who claims there was no visible blood on Murdaugh the night his wife and son were found dead in the family's hunting lodge. Testimony will resume tomorrow. Fox Nation host Nancy Grace will be there in South Carolina, but she joins us now. Nancy, your reaction to what you just saw?
Well, I see where the defense is headed, because when you look at Alex Murdaugh, the night of the murders, when the SLED, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, and other law enforcement got there, it looked like he was wearing a clean shirt, a clean T-shirt, although he was sweating profusely, but there was no sweat on the shirt. But then when you take the shirt for testing under a microscope, there appears to be very fine blood spatter, which is invisible to the naked eye. And that's why we do ballistics and blood spatter test. At a distance, you can't see that. You have to look under a microscope. It's like this. That's how it looks on the shirt.
You know, Nancy, from a distance, it does not look like it's going great for the prosecution, but I'm going to leave that up to you. You're much more plugged in on this. In fact, you're going to South Carolina to sit in on the trial this week, where you have a Fox Nation special on the timeline of this case. What will you learn? What will you share with us?
Well, I really want to look at the witnesses in person, because I can always tell a lot, and I think the jury can too, when you gauge the witness in person, the way they're acting, the way they're looking, a million little things. And I want to go back to that T-shirt you mentioned. He also told cops that he took the pulse, that he touched the victims, but the shirt was clean, his hands were clean, yet they were covered in blood. So how did that happen? Also, I'd like to point out gunshot residue found in his vehicle, but I think the strongest evidence for the state so far is a Snapchat video his son took about 4 minutes going toward the window of the murders, and Alex Murdaugh was in that Snapchat video.
I can't wait to see what you come back with after you see it in person, as you say. Get a sense of the witnesses in the courtroom, which you're right. I mean, you need to feel it, see it, be present to get the tone.
Yeah, I want to see Murdaugh in the flesh.
Okay. By the way, for background on the murder family, the family murder case of Murdaugh, check out the Fox Nation special. Don't miss Nancy's live coverage of the trial this week on FoxNation.com. So she's got you set up to understand the background, context, and timeline, and then the updates throughout the week as this trial progresses. Nancy Grace, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to One Nation. I'm Brian Kilmeade. We start tonight with a Fox News alert. Within the last 24 hours, the Memphis Police Department released body cam footage of the police-involved death of Tyree Nichols. We were warned before the release that this video would be heinous, would be savage. It is. Everything they prepared us for, true. It's beyond anything I've ever seen.
Get the cup. I didn't do anything. Hey, you guys are really doing a lot right now.
Bro,
Stop.
lay down.
I'm just trying to go home.
Lay down.
Man, if you don't lay down, I am on the ground.
In the first, you see body cam video. You see an officer approach Tyree Nichols with their guns drawn and aggressively yank him out of his vehicle. Officers throw Nichols to the ground, yelling at him repeatedly, get to the ground. He was on the ground and put his hands behind his back. He did that. A few moments later, you see Nichols get up and run. They tase him. He takes off his shirt, runs away. When officers do catch up to him, they restrain him on the ground. Multiple officers repeatedly punch him and pepper spray him. At one point, you see an officer walk up and kick Nichols in the head at least 2 times. The officers then proceed to basically pass him around, again punching him in the face, striking him with a baton over and over again before he collapses, later dragged and propped up against a police car. Doesn't look conscious to me. He's given no medical attention, even though there was medical experts there. Nichols would die a few days later in the hospital. He was 29 years old with no criminal record. So far, the reaction to this video has been outrageous, but it has been an outrage, but has not been outrageous. People in Memphis and across the country are protesting, but there is no widespread violence. But fear of it does remain. An almost universal agreement that this is unacceptable. Now, the 5 officers, well, they're black. They're all members of an elite unit that requires specific qualifications and training. The Scorpion Unit, it's an acronym. It's a unit that's been inactive now since Nichols has passed away on January 5th. The police officers have been fired, charged with second-degree murder. All are out on bail except one. They will face trial, they will face punishment, and eventually, if they're found guilty, and eventually tell their side of the story. But for now, we're all set to wonder how in the world this could happen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.
Saturday Night Live took the opportunity to poke at both Democrats and Republicans in the show's opening sketch about classified documents. U.S. Attorney General Merrickgarland, played by Mikey Day, headlined the skit, sending a comedic warning to other politicians who may have records in their possession.
I have one question for you. You think this is a game? Who do you think you're playing with?
After a holiday mess in the skies for Southwest Airlines, employees played by Heidi Gardner and Devin Walker tried to reassure customers with no avail.
We are finally upgrading our entire communication system to 2008 Dell computers.
Hey man, let's keep it real. You bought the ticket?
Again, you bought a Southwest ticket. You obviously don't respect yourself, so why should we?
A newly single Michael B. Jordan, who confirmed his relationship status during his monologue, made his hosting debut with rapper Lil Baby taking the stage as the night's musical guest.
The investigation into California's fourth mass shooting in a week. This one in a Los Angeles neighborhood where 3 people were killed, 4 others wounded. ABC's Ike Ajachi is live in L.A. with more on that. Ike, good morning.
Good morning, Whit. You said it yourself. This is now the 4th mass shooting with multiple victims here in California in just the past week. And this time, investigators say the shooting happened early Saturday morning in front of a short-term rental home in the Beverly Crest neighborhood, just north of Beverly Hills. Multiple law enforcement sources tell ABC News they believe a party was underway at the time of the incident. Now, officers responded to several 911 calls around 2:30 a.m. about a shooting with people down. Now, once on scene, they found 3 people dead in a car, with 4 others also wounded. Police are saying this was not an active shooter situation. They believe it was targeted, a possible dispute, and they're canvassing the neighborhood for video. However, the suspect has not been caught yet. This shooting comes just a week after 72-year-old Who Can Train gunned down 11 people, wounding 9 others at a ballroom dance hall in Monterey Park. 3 days later, police say another gunman killed 7 people at 2 farms around Half Moon Bay. That same night in Oakland, 8 people were shot and 1 killed at a gas station. As for this most recent shooting, of the 4 wounded, 2 remain in critical condition at a local hospital, while the other 2 are in stable condition. Eva?
Ike Ajachi for. If you're planning to watch the upcoming Super Bowl, you'll likely see a few ads about Jesus. CNN's Tom Foreman looks into who is behind the He Gets Us campaign and why some are calling this a PR stunt for right-wing politics.
There was this controversial figure. Everywhere he went, people challenged him.
The message is stark, arresting, and backed by $100 million. That's how much organizers say is behind this campaign to market Jesus as a patient, loving, inclusive cure for our divisive times. With the tagline, He Gets Us. Jason Vanderground.
We're trying to unify the American people around the confounding love and forgiveness of Jesus.
The campaign website is filled with phrases saying Jesus called out the toxic religious and political systems, led the protest against the walls that divide us, and broke the chains that held women in bondage. Merchandise declares Jesus was a refugee and an immigrant. At first blush, it can all read like a stand against radical right-wing politics and related divisiveness. But the campaign pointedly says this is not an attack on anyone. It is an outreach to young Americans whom polls show are abandoning Christianity and other faiths at a historic pace.
A lot of times when people look at Christianity, they see it as much more unfortunate, hypocritical, judgmental, kind of discriminatory.
Add the fact that He Gets Us is funded by anonymous donors acting through a Kansas nonprofit linked to staunchly conservative causes, and it raises alarms for some skeptics, such as Chrissy Stroop, a former evangelical who now reports on religion.
I believe the He Gets Us campaign is a PR effort and website strategically developed by right-wing evangelicals to rope people in with inclusive-sounding messaging and get them plugged into local churches that will eventually teach them that to be a Christian means to support right-wing politics.
On top of that, this whole big money marketing of Jesus just makes some Christians uneasy. So take it how you will. The He Gets Us campaign is still moving forward. They plan to release 2 new commercials during the Super Bowl, where Ad Age reports some 30-second spots are now going for $7 million a pop.